Hey guys, it's Jessica, and today I've got a video that is a tag video, and Fleur de Force here on YouTube, I think she created it, and I saw it a few months ago, and I was like, this is such a great idea. So I added it to my list of videos I wanted to try. I'm finally getting around to filming it today, and I was so excited. These are all products that have withstood the test of time. So she titled this tag the Test of Time tag because these are all products, beauty, makeup, etc., that have withstood that test of time where I still love them. I've either repurchased them or I still use them after years of doing this on YouTube, or maybe just years of using that product just in general. So if you do this style of video or if you've done one, please let me know below because I like watching them. I feel like it's kind of like a holy grail, but it's one that, you know, you're really kind of digging into the past as well and thinking about what have I loved for a very, very long time. So if you enjoy this style of video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and I hope that you'll subscribe as well, and let's go ahead and get into it. I feel like I use this mug every single time I film, but in reality, it's just one of my favorite mugs. But anyway, you guys are gonna have to let me know though if my lipstick starts looking crazy, because this is not a matte liquid lipstick, and so it's just a classic lipstick. It's one of my favorites. Should we just start with it? So a lot of these are drugstore, but I'm gonna start with what's on my lips because it's been a favorite for a few years now, and I love it. So this is the Marc Jacobs La Marque Lip Cream lipsticks, and this is in the shade 200 Oh Miley. If you see me wearing a red lipstick, it's almost always this. I've always said that, and it's almost always true unless I'm like testing something out. It's the perfect red. It's not too orangey yellow toned, it's not too blue toned, it's like right in the center. It's just that classic statement red. You can use any red lip liner with it. I've never really noticed any issues like matching different red lip liners with this, and I use all different ones. But I feel like the comfort of this lipstick is top notch. Now these are expensive, there's no getting around that. But the comfort of these, the pigmentation, I'll swatch it. Oh my gosh, they're so creamy and beautiful. They don't really, yeah, they have no smell, which I think is cool because some lipsticks, I'm talking to you, L'Oreal, some lipsticks have the strongest smell, and if you don't like that smell or if you're really sensitive to it, ugh. Like I can't use any of their lipsticks, period. And it makes me so sad because some of the formulas are good, but I just can't do it. Anyway, so creamy. I do have a few other shades, but none of them have quite rivaled Oh Miley for me. But this one is in Sonic Truth, and it's more of a kind of nude, a kind of pinkish nude, very wearable for every day. And then I also have Infamous, which is a little bit deeper than that, kind of rosy. But these are all of the formula across the board is the same. Really creamy, really pigmented. They're not a long wearing liquid lipstick, so they're not gonna dry down like I showed you before. You're going to see transfer. You can't go kissing on someone because you're gonna see it on their cheeks or lips, whatever. But I just love it. And so for me, like I like traveling. When we were on our honeymoon, I think that's when I bought Oh Miley the very first time. And I just fell in love, and we were looking through pictures the other day of when we were in Paris, and I was like, I wore this red lipstick like every single day, but it photographed so well and it was comfortable. Yes, I had to reapply. Yes, every once in a while I would check in the mirror to make sure, but for the most part there were no issues, and it's just, I love it so much. All right, so let's get into some drugstore ones as well. A foundation that has withstood the test of time is the Rimmel Lasting Finish Foundation. I remember loving this years and years ago, and I think that this used to be in a squeezy tube. I'm yelling again. Quiet, Jess. This used to be in a squeezy tube, and it wasn't the same colors, but I loved it then. And the reason I knew this had to be the exact same thing, I think they used the same name, but it has this very specific smell. So again, if you're sensitive to smell, I don't know, because it definitely is obvious, but I don't mind this particular smell. But once you get it on, you can smell it while you're applying it, but once it's actually on your face, I've never smelled it throughout the day. But I just love this. It's a, I would say medium coverage. You can definitely build it up. I think they call it full coverage, but again, like I've always said, full coverage is like 100% flawless, almost like a thicker foundation, and that's not how I view this. But for me, this is usually about as max coverage as I go, but I can use this every day. I can apply it with a brush, my fingers, beauty blender, sponge, whatever. It always looks beautiful. It stays on all day. I have pretty normal skin, sometimes dry. It works for me. If you have oily skin, let us know below if it works for you. I don't notice this being overly dewy or anything like that, so I feel like it probably would work. for oily skin, as long as you maybe use like a good primer, one that you know works really well with your skin, maybe controlling the oil. But I love this stuff. I know a lot of my Canadian subscribers, you guys told me the last time I mentioned this, I think this past month, you guys were like, it's with a pump in Canada. And I'm like, oh, I wish it was with a pump here. But I wear the shade, just for reference, 100 Ivory. Another product that has withstood the test of time is this little Wet n Wild single. It's like $2 in the shade Brûlée. I've mentioned it for years because it's like the most pigmented, cheap shadow. And it's perfect if you have a skin tone similar to mine to blend everything together. It does a great job of toning down other shadows if you've like gone a little, maybe you're a little overzealous with a darker shadow and you're like, ooh, that's too much. This does a great job of kind of evening it out and blending it, but also kind of toning it down, which I appreciate. It also looks great as just a matte, like brow bone kind of a highlight. I just love them. All of their little single shadows are fantastic, but a lot of them are kind of more satin or shimmery, and this one is matte and wonderful, and I've used it for years. This is probably the 4th or 5th one of these that I've owned, and it's just a fantastic shadow, and I use it probably a couple times a week, every week for years. Next one is I almost feel like I could call this video like old school YouTube favorites, because almost all of these, as I was like picking them out, I thought these are all like ones that I remember watching other YouTubers, like way before I had a channel. I remember watching other YouTubers talk about it, and I'm like, I need to buy it. And so I would like save up and buy it. But these are still so good and I still love them. This is the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk. This is one that I know a lot of people have trouble sharpening, but I have not had an issue. I've used many different large sharpeners, and yes, it does eat away a lot of it as you sharpen it, but these aren't that expensive, so I never feel that bad. But specifically this shade Milk is what was super popular. They have a million shades, but it's just this really very creamy pencil, but you can blend it, and it's awesome to put on your eye just all over, blended like this, before you put shadow on. So a lot of people were using this before like kind of squeezy regular eye primers were popular. This was one that was affordable. Nowadays, every brand, including drugstore, has some kind of an eye primer. But for a while, it was only the really expensive brands that had stuff that was useful. And this was one that was really popular because it was affordable. But it's also really good. And what's great about white primers like this is any color, it doesn't have to be a colorful eye look, but any shadow is gonna pop a little bit more over the white. Let me see if I can show you an example. I'm gonna put a little bit more of it on there, kind of blend it, but I want you to be able to see it. So I'm gonna pick a shadow. I'm gonna be talking about the Naked palette. So I'm gonna pick, let's try Toasted. So I'm gonna get it on 2 of my fingers here, okay? And I'm gonna put one beside it and one over the white. Honestly, I was gonna say, I feel like I've tried this with shadows and it really pops over that white, but because this Naked palette is so freaking good, it doesn't even matter with these shadows. These are so ridiculous. So that was a really poor example. But, well, that's a really good palette. We'll talk about that palette next. But it's an awesome idea. And I will say, with this white base, it's really good with drugstore eyeshadows, because those, not always, but oftentimes if they're not super pigmented, you know, not like the Naked palette, if they're not super pigmented, they don't, you know, they get kind of washed out. This prevents them from getting too washed out. Hopefully that made sense. All right, let's talk the Naked palette. I got rid of so many palettes recently, like probably out of 50 palettes, I think I kept like 15. And I didn't film it. I think I mentioned that. I don't know if it was in a video or a snap. I was talking about it and how I didn't film it. I decluttered my whole collection without filming it. And the only reason was I realized that I do better when I'm in one of those moods where I'm like, I just need to purge, and it's like gonna be good for my soul and I just know it. I feel like I do so much better on my own. So the reality is I will accumulate enough makeup in the next probably 4 or 5 months that I'll probably do a declutter again and I'll film it, because I do enjoy filming them, but I just wasn't in that kind of a mood, and I wasn't in a filming mood, and I just needed to do it. Does that make sense? So I hope you can understand why I didn't film it. But I was looking at my Naked palettes, and this time I kept all 3. I think next time I might get rid of the Naked 3. That's talk for another video. But this palette is so good. And yes, everyone's like, oh, the Naked palette, like that's so, you know, cliche, everyone talks about it. But there's a reason. There's a reason it became so popular so quickly, and why it's still popular today. No one has really matched this palette. You know, it's not only insanely pigmented, but the range is so cool. And it's just a good mix of colors. It's one that I find that I can do so much with. I love Half Baked. Their shimmers are amazing. Their mattes are amazing. I showed you that toasted color, but I'll show you again because that's like one of my absolute favorites. But I just feel like it's just the prettiest palette. And it's one that I've owned this one for years. It's probably time to replace it, but I've owned this particular one for years and years, and I saved up so much for it, and I was so excited to get it. And I've clearly, like, I have babied this. Like, I would clean it off. I try to keep it clean. I mean, I have babied this thing. Anyway, I just think the colors are gorgeous. The quality's amazing. It blends seamlessly. You just can't do much better than this palette. You know, there's other palettes out there that I also like Vizart makes amazing palettes as well, but this is just such a classic, and I still use it every single week at least once. I would say I'm reaching for this still after years of owning it. All right, continuing on, another favorite is another one from Rimmel, but it's their Stay Matte Pressed Powder. This is such a cult classic. I've bought a million of these. They have transparent. I always use 004 Sandstorm. They really don't have a big range, and most of them end up being transparent anyway by the time you actually put it on. But this is one that is the best, the simplest, thinnest powder when it comes to just getting rid of a little bit of excess oil. So I'll use this just right in my T-zone, and it soaks it up just enough where it doesn't look super powdery, but it doesn't look like still oily. So it does the perfect amount of mattifying. That's why I appreciate it, because I do have dry skin. So the rare times that I'm like, ooh, I'm a little bit way too oily or whatever in that area, this is what I want. I don't want a really heavy powder that's just gonna accentuate the dry spots. So I really love this, and it's so inexpensive. Continuing on, this is the Urban Decay All-Nighter Spray. It's gone through different transformations bottle-wise. I like to liken this to the Scandinavia setting spray because they're made from the same company. I have to assume they're pretty much the exact same thing, because I've used this and the Scandinavia one kind of interchangeably, and I never notice a difference. They're both so amazing. They really do hold on to your makeup. But my favorite thing is not only do I notice my makeup does stay on longer that day, but I notice that like it kind of melts everything together. So when I feel like I'm looking a little splotchy or maybe a little dry and cakey in some areas, spraying this on it, I feel like just kind of evens it all out and melts it into itself so that it looks more seamless. And I love this. I've bought so many of these / the Scandinavia one. They're so good. If you haven't tried these yet, they're amazing. All right, another drugstore one. This one's from NYX. This is the Mega Shine Lip Gloss in the shade, say it with me, Beige. If you've been watching me a long time, you're like, yeah, we know it's the only color you like. It's in the shade Beige, which is a pink color. It has just the right amount of pigment where it looks gorgeous. It makes your lips look so healthy and just juicy, but it doesn't slide all around your face. It's not overly sticky. It does have a cherry smell, but I just love this. It's just like this creamy, milky gloss that just looks so healthy, like I said. And every time I wear it, I feel like I'll catch myself in the mirror and be like, dang, like your lips look good and you didn't even try. Like you just slapped on a gloss and it looks great. So I love, 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 love this stuff. If you've been hearing me talk about this for years and you still haven't gone out and spent the, I don't know, $5 on this, you've got to try it. I love this so much. If they ever discontinue this, I will throw up. This is the Benefit Dallas Blush, box of powder, they call it. This in the store, like I had tried, I think, every other Benefit blush before I finally got around to this one because it didn't look appealing. I'm like, I don't know, you know, a girl on a horse is cute, but the color, I was like, it looks kind of boring. What is it, a bronzer? Is it a blush? What is it? And so I just kind of always skipped over it, whether it was online or in store. They all have a smell. It's very subtle, but I like the smells. This turned out to be the best blush ever. It's the kind that you just put on your face and it just looks so neutral, but in a pretty way. It doesn't look like you're trying so hard, like, oh, she's got bright pink blush on her, oh, she's got bright peach blush. This is just the perfect everyday blush where it always ends up looking seamless. And I'm like, I know it's not me because I'm not a makeup artist. It's this, I'm telling you, it's so beautiful. Again, this is one that I reach for like once or twice a week, every single week for years. And I have to force myself to use other things because if I could, I would use this every single day. This is a blush that I travel with a lot just because it's so foolproof. It goes with absolutely every look. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So I have had this a while. It's probably getting close to time for me to replace it, but I've heard rumors that this might be discontinued. Please don't let it be true. I love it so much. There's a swatch of it, by the way. I mean, you could almost wear it as a bronzer, but it ends up looking just so beautiful just on your cheeks as like a blush bronzer. The last thing I'm going to mention is the Balm blushes. These little bad boys. Again, I've bought, oh my gosh, so many of these over the years, and then eventually TheBalm sent me some, and so I got rid of some that I already had, and you know, some of these have lasted through declutter, some I've gotten rid of, and then somehow they got in my possession again. Well, my original favorite, sorry, I'm cleaning one of these off. My original favorite was this one. It was the Down Boy blush. It was this gorgeous pink. These are so pigmented, so beautiful. I just loved this blush. Now this is a newer one because I had decluttered it long ago because I had it for years. Well, I fell in love with a new one that I thought was worth mentioning because while this kind of withstood the test of time, all of these blushes, I've always had one in my collection of some kind because the formula of these is amazing. My favorite blush now from them is the Balm Beach blush. It's this gorgeous light peach, so if you're a similar skin tone to mine, you will love it. Again, it doesn't look that special, but it goes on seamlessly. You don't have to work at it. It doesn't get splotchy. It's so beautiful. The other one I currently have that I think I've literally only swatched is this Frat Boy blush, and it's a lot more, you can see kind of a melon color right there. Gorgeous, even prettier if you have a deeper skin tone. Hi, Pinocchio. Don't grab that makeup, Pinocchio, leave it. Good boy. So, long story short, the formula of these is amazing. These generally have withstood the test of time, but the Balm Beach is definitely my new favorite. They do have other shades too, and I always buy these on Haute Look because they're like $10 on there when the Balm is on sale there. Otherwise, these are like 20-something. So that's definitely the place to buy it. I will link it below. So those are all of my favorite products from over the years. If you enjoyed this video, like I said, give it a thumbs up if you would. And I hope that you'll subscribe if you like more. He wants to play. But other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.